Welcome back, senors and senoritas, to Argos Anonymous. My name is Adam, and it's time for a fall Argent Saga Showcase deck tech video. That's right. Yesterday, all day, actually leading into kind of early this morning, was the Southern Minnesota Showcase slash regional tournament for Argent Saga, and it was really fun. We had a couple groups of players that actually got quarantined within the last week because you get these letters in the mail that say you may have had possible exposure to COVID, and that you should stay home and wait for symptoms to develop around here. That's how they do it. And these people got, one of them got letters in the mail, and then they were a play group, and so the whole group got quarantined Wednesday, leading up in the showcase, which is too bad. But we still had a good showing. We still had enough to do the best 2 out of 3 elimination rounds leading up to the top 8, and then a full single elimination top 8, and spend 13 plus hours just crushing Argent Saga all day. And it was really fun. If you played in the showcase and the future fall showcases, participation promos, you get these Silverstone Sentinel full art promos. This is a great card for a sideboard. It gets you a lot of extra card draw whenever your opponent does, almost anything, which they're going to do all the time. And then this is a full art foil Sandsea Traveler. This is if you're in the top 50%, I think. You get this. This is for you air players out there. I'm not one yet, but I want to do it with Hadir, because Hadir looks really fun, like Hadir beasts and stuff. I don't know, he's not a beast, but maybe there's room for this. We'll figure it out. Of course, if you play any Argent Saga events, you typically get bingo stickers, which is kind of fun. And I got second place, so this is the Silver Metal Kite. First place went to Ben Gibson, a really good Hoenna player who played Hoenna Tux. It was awesome playing against him. Really cool seeing him and his friend Michael came in from Wisconsin. They both played Hoenna. It was Hoenna Tux and Hoenna Sola. And we don't have a lot of Hoenna at our LGS, so it was really cool seeing these really good Hoenna players come in and represent. So that's fun. We did have Liam and Metaial, and we had our own Hoenna player. She's good too. And then we had a little medley. And then I played Renna Corona, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So as a courtesy to those of you who don't want to hear anything else I have to say, which I respect, everyone's on a time limit, no problem. There's the deck list. Feel free to ask any questions you have. Just if you're going to ask a lot of questions, watch the video first, because we're going to probably talk about it. So why did I pick Renna Corona? Well, because I love the dinosaurs. I love it. And I like fire as an element. And to be honest, I just wanted to make it work. And people in my LGS, they kept being like, why are you playing dinos? Why are you playing dinos? Why are you playing dinos? Even after I took second, they're still saying, why are you playing dinos? They're really fun. And I think it's a good deck. I think I need to do a little tweaking to prepare for the Hoenna matchup, because it doesn't have a lot of, it just runs out. Hoenna, wipes the board and creates new bodies with Hoenna's Wrath. And Hoenna, the Dino deck is constantly destroying the opponent's board. It's just wrecking the opponent's board all the time. But Hoenna is sacrificing their units for cards using Hidden Lab, right? So you can never get a card advantage on Hoenna because she's wiping your board, creating new bodies for nothing, and then sacking her own golems for cards using Hidden Lab. And I didn't have augment hate in here. I couldn't kill the Hidden Labs, because the more you deviate away from fire units in a Renna deck, the weaker Renna gets, because she depends on fire units to proc. So, but this deck does really well against Metaial, and it does well enough against Liam, and it shreds almost anything else. So, at least in my experience, and that's just in my local play group. But I stand by it. I think Renna is a really good deck, and I think it has a lot of potential. So, let's talk about it. So this is going to be a longer video. So, tune in and out, save your place, come back later. That's fine. There's no shame in that. Do what you got to do. And we're going to go through it. So starting off, what's the deal with Renna? Here's my opinion. In order to have a functional Renna deck, you need to proc Renna as much as possible. So the way she works is, if you have attacked with a fire unit this turn, you can exhaust Renna, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is a fire unit, Renna gets to do 1,000 damage to something, right? And then in addition to that, at any time, at instant speed, as an activated ability, you can take 2 cards that are under Renna, so you're charging her up basically every turn you can. And then you can take 2 cards under her, put them on the top or bottom of your deck. And if you do that, you can put a dinosaur into play for free. So you can do that during your turn. You can do it during combat. You can do it during your opponent's turn, and it's really good. It's a really good ability. But you have to be able to charge Renna up. You need fire units to be able to charge her up and to be able to keep clearing your opponent's board with these little 1,000 damage dings. So I've paired her with Corona, which is really good. It's a really good pair. I think it's the way to go. I think it's better than Ursa Tovis. I think it's definitely better than splashing in another color. If you're going to play Renna, I really like Renna Corona. Corona lets me, during my turn, it lets me discard a fire unit from my hand, and my deck's full of those, to deal 500 damage to target unit. Or I can Soul Burst it to give something quickness. And you'll see why that is relevant as we go through the cards in this set. So let's talk about the Dino package, because that's why we're here, right? Because we saw dinos. We want to play dinos. She's a dino chick. Let's do it. So dinos, starting out, I've got 3 Primeval Eggs. This is a 1-cost 500 power Guardian. It can't attack or deal damage, but what it can do is when it dies, it replaces itself, right? Or it actually, what it does specifically, it lets you tutor your deck for a dinosaur unit that costs 3 or less and add it to your hand. So if you're playing against aggro and they're coming at you hard, when they kill your egg, you just tutor for another egg, right? And then the next turn, you just put it back into play. But if you're playing Metaial and you want to search for one of your 3-cost dinosaurs that helps shut down Metaial, then that's what you do, right? Though actually in my Metaial games, on game 2, I actually side these out because Metaial's typically not attacking me very much. So it's not optimal to start with these eggs. But in game 1, you put these in, and I have a Phoenix package in here that I'll explain later. You can actually sacrifice them yourself, and then you can trigger it, get the ability of the Phoenix to deal damage or search for a Phoenix, and then replace it with another dinosaur. So these were a really nice way to start the game and stay alive. Then we've got 3 Mezosian Hatchling. So this is a 1-cost 500 power dino. He just pumps up your other dinos, but I really like him because, not really for the pumping effect, but because he's a tower scout, and it's really valuable knowing what towers are down there. And so early game, it's really nice to get some dings off with your hatchlings and reveal several towers. Also, he's not a big threat to your opponent, so they don't tend to like waste interaction killing a hatchling if they have a choice, you know? So the hatchlings tend to stick, and then also importantly, once you can declare an attack with a hatchling, you get to charge Renna. So your innocent little hatchling is here, declares an attack, it scouts a tower, then you charge Renna, you get a unit off the top of your deck and you deal 1,000 damage to something. So it's very common to kill your opponent's first and second turn plays just by proccing Renna. And then you get to scout towers with this. And then maybe it pumps up a dino later. And then if you pull it later in the game, it doesn't matter because you can just dump it to use Corona's effect. So it all serves its utility. Then we've got 3 Brontorian Bambinos. This is a 2-cost 1,500 power dinosaur unit. And when it dies, you get to destroy target damaged unit. So let's say you can like, if the opponent has some big old creature, like a 10,000 power Monster Merc Beastomosaurus, or whatever it is, and it's exhausted, let's say it came at your face last turn, you can just like send this into it and bury it. You can just attack his thing, it'll deal damage to it and die, and then when it dies, it kills the damaged unit. So you can suicide bomb this guy into huge things, and it'll just kill it. Or you can play, we have a Phoenix package in here. Let me find my Phoenix package. You can like sacrifice it with Rowena the Vengeful Phoenix to deal 1,500 damage to something, and then when it dies, it kills it. So you can kill it that way. You can deal damage with Corona, and then this thing dies and kill it. You can deal damage with Renna, this thing dies and kill it. It's really great. You're just going to clear your opponent's board again and again and again and again with this deck. I put in 2 Mezosian Raptors. This is a 3-cost 1,500 power unit. What it does is, after turn 5, because you have to have 5 or more shards in play, units that your opponents control with cost 2 or less lose their abilities. So think about this. If you're playing against Metaial, all of those Overseers and Pawns and Inquisitors cost 2 or less. So you put this down, and if it's turn 5, they all lose all of their abilities. So now you can start killing them, and guess what? They don't come back. They don't start regenerating things and triggering their ruins. They don't trigger arrive effects. It's wonderful. Also, if you're playing against Liam, they lose quickness. He puts a shard dagger on a gallant squire or something like that, and it'll get the bonus power, right? It gets like the plus 500, but it doesn't have quickness. These also take away guardian, right? So if someone has a golem of devourment, it loses guardian. If they have a knight token, it loses guardian. So these are wonderful cards, and it's a 3 cost, so you can tutor for it with your eggs. So if your egg dies, you pull up a raptor if it's turn 5. I usually wait until turn 5, kill my egg with one of my phoenixes or something like that, or just use it for guardian, tutor up a raptor, bring it into play. Or you can use Renna. By then she'll have several cards under her, and you can bring a raptor into play and kind of surprise your opponent and neutralize their low cost unit abilities. So that's kind of fun. Then I've got 3 Destroyosaurus. So Destroyosaurus is a 3 cost, 2000 power dinosaur unit. When it arrives, you can destroy target damaged unit, and if you do, it gains quickness. So this is a really powerful card because in the right deck, it's an instant +1. You gain a card and your opponent loses a card. In addition to that, though, it has quickness. So if you bury this into an opponent's unit, you're up 2. Or if you crack a tower, you not only removed a card, gained a card, but you cracked a tower. And then they have to waste another card trying to get rid of it. And then you just bring it back with Renna. there's a lot of... I had one turn where I looped 3 of these in one turn for game. You can like bring one in, destroy a unit, give it quickness, swing, and then like hit it for damage and kill it and swing again, and then it's really fun. It's really fun. It's also a 3 cost dinosaur, so you can tutor for it with the primeval egg. Then I put in 2 Pterosaurus. So Pterosaurus is a 4 cost, 2500 power dinosaur unit with Guardian. And there's a lot of text on this card. Basically, here's what it does. If it's turn 6 or later, then while it's exhausted, your opponent can't do anything until they do it to this first. Because they can't attack anything unless they're attacking this unit. So like you'll block with this unit, and then he can't just get past it. Like most Guardians, once they're exhausted, they can't defend anymore. This Guardian, once he's exhausted, your opponent has to keep hitting it until it's dead. Also, once it's exhausted, your opponent can't target your other units with anything. So I have a spell in this deck. Let's see. I have a Jurassic Strike spell. What this does is you exhaust target unit, and then it deals its damage to something. So one thing I like to do is I've got a Pterosaurus out. My opponent will target one of my other units with like a Corona Shard or something, and then I'll respond by Jurassic swiping my Pterosaurus, exhaust it, which now protects all of my other units, and then I get to kill something by dealing its damage to something, and I protect my unit all at instant speed. It's kind of sneaky. So I like this. If you do get 2 of them out and they're both exhausted, they will protect each other, but this is kind of an unlikely scenario. In my experience playing this deck, it's not something you don't want to like design a deck hoping to hide behind your Pterosaurus. It's just not a good way to play. Then I have, okay, in this deck I put 3 Brontorian Herd Mothers. Now, a note about this, if I were headed to like a large tournament with a larger play group and probably a higher proportion of like heavy aggro Liam decks, I wouldn't put 3 of these in this deck. But I was going into a control heavy format. I thought there was going to be, I was going to be facing mono air control, maybe water control, direct damage spells. I was going to be facing Liam, maybe a little bit of Liam. But then also just people are going to be trying to remove my stuff, and they're going to be wrathing and giving everything minus 2000. So I needed big, stompy, untargetable units to get through my local meta. That was my thought. So I just went for the gold, and I put 3 of these in here. Herd Mother is untargetable by spells or abilities. So when she hits, she's pretty sticky. They need like a Chronostasis or a Finishing Ray or a really strong Wrath to get rid of her, right? But also, anytime a dinosaur unit, while this is in play, anytime a dinosaur unit I control, so it has to be a dinosaur unit in play, is put into the discard zone, this thing deals its damage, and it deals damage to a target unit equal to its power. So, like, I can put this down. I can sacrifice an egg with a phoenix to deal 1500 damage to something with the phoenix, tutor something for the egg, and then this deals 3500 damage to something else. Like, it really starts to... As soon as these things start to hit, life starts to get kind of complicated for your opponent, unless they can remove them. And I had, you have one game, if you have 2 out, you're doing 7,000 damage to something. It's really fun. Yugo can't target it. You know, Holy Slash can't target it. All of these things can't target it. So this is a really good dinosaur card. But it's a 6 cost, so you know, you don't want to go all the way to town with it unless you have to. My last dinosaur in this deck is, of course, Tyrantus, the Primeval Ruler. He's a 10 cost, 5,000 power, legendary dinosaur unit. He's got quickness. So the turn he comes into play, you can go ahead and crush something. That's crazy. He's got overrun. So you can target an opponent's unit, kill the unit, and then hit the tower anyway. In addition, he ignores tower effects. So like when you play this guy, he's going to kill an opponent's unit, break a tower, and nullify a tower effect all in one turn, which is nuts, right? But that's not all. In addition, you get to ignore all of your opponent's units with power less than this card, which is almost everything. They lose all their abilities. So your opponent, but he's not untargetable, right? So your opponent basically, if he has his Corona Shard up, as soon as this hits, this is what he kills. He can't let it stick. The good news is, if he doesn't exile it from your discard, you can just bring it back with Renna, because by the time this hits, you've got, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards under Renna, and he kills it. And if you make it to turn 10 anyway, you can just bring it back. That's kind of cool. Or if he targets it and you've got a Pterotoratops out, you can drastic swipe your Pterotoratops to exhaust your Pterotoratops and protect your Tyrantus. Zing, right? So that's really fun. I really like that. The way I usually play this is, you can get Tyrantus out on like turn 5 pretty consistently because he's cheaper to play for the total cost of dinosaurs you have in play. So if you've got like a Destroyosaurus and a Pterotoratops in play, he only costs 3 to play. If you've got a hatchling, this and this, if you've got your medley of dinos out by turn like 4, on turn 4, let's say you had a Destroyosaurus out on turn 3, and then on turn 4 you can use Renna to play a Pterotoratops for free, and then you tap 3 of your shards to play this a-hole, and you've still got a shard up. It's crazy, you know, to have this out on turn 4 and just be like, mrah, mrah, mrah. It's really satisfying to play dinos. So what are we going to do next? What should we do? The Phoenix package? Let's do that. So, Renna relies on fire units. So the way I approached this deck when I was building it was, I need to think about all the things that I want to do normally, and I need to do it with units. And the Phoenix package does that. So I have 3 Hand of Rowena. So I'm almost never hard casting this. I'm not playing it as a 2-cost unit, right? What I'm doing is I'm discarding this card from my hand to destroy target unit I control, and if I do, I search my deck for a Rowena unit and I add it to my hand. And then, if this card is in the discard from its own ability, at the beginning of my draw phase, I can put it into play. So the way this works is, my opponent tries to kill one of my units. Like I scout a tower with a hatchling, he gets bold and he's like, I'm gonna run my Bone Scavenger into your hatchling and kill it. And then I respond with this, and I kill my own unit, right? And then I get to search for a new card. So I'm +1, like I lose the unit, but I gain a new card, and then this comes into play on my next turn, and I don't have to cast it. So essentially, my thought was, how do I protect my units? And although my unit is dying, I'm essentially protecting it because my opponent has to waste an attack or waste a card, taking out my unit. And then I get to preserve the utility of having a fire unit in play, and I get to search for a new card. So that's how I see it. So I got 3 of those. Then I have 3 Rowena the Vengeful Phoenix. Again, my thought was, I need a way to kill dangerous units. I need a way to do damage, but I can't use spells. I've got to use units, because in order to proc Renna, like every turn, that's what I got to do. So I have a Rowena the Vengeful Phoenix in here, and I almost never hard cast it, right? What I'm doing is I'm discarding this card from my hand at instant speed, and I'm going to destroy target non-token unit I control. And if I do, I deal 1,500 damage to an opponent a unit my opponent controls. So again, they'll go to kill one of my units, and I'll be like, no, you don't, and I'll kill it myself. But then in doing so, I will do 1,500 damage to something. So they'll waste a spell or something trying to kill my guy, and I'll kill my own guy, and then I'll kill their guy. But in addition to that, when this is in my discard from its own ability, at the beginning of my draw phase, I can exile it, and I can put into play a Phoenix from my hand or discard for free. So if I have like some of these that were in my discard and died, I could exile this and put it back into play. Or I could exile it and put one of itself into play. Or the way you really want to do it is you want to put this into play. So usually when you're tutoring for a Phoenix with hand, you're usually tutoring for a Renna the Phoenix. This is an Argent rare from the first booster set, Betrayal. It's a great card. And then usually once you've tutored for this, usually you're going to put it into play at the right time by exiling this. So the way Renna the Phoenix works is it's a 6 cost, but again, you might play it. You might hard play this sometimes, but ideally you're playing it for free, and you can get it out really fast if you need to. Like against Liam, you could drop this turn 3 and just like wipe his board for nothing. When it arrives, it deals 1,500 damage to all units your opponent controls. Again, my thought was I need a way to do a soft board wipe if I have to, but I need to do it with units, right? So that's where this comes into play. When it's ruined, it goes back into the deck, and then you can tutor for it again, and then you can play it again, and you can do all your Phoenix package shenanigans. So there's another slab of units for the Corona unit Dino deck. The Phoenix package provides a lot of utility and essentially protection of card utility, preservation. Then we have some random stuff. Let's talk about it. So a little more low to the ground stuff. I have 2 Voidfire Shadows. This is just a 1-cost tower threatening unit. That's a fire unit, and so it just fits with the archetype. You really want to get those early counters, those early cards under Renna, and you want to proc her to clean your opponent's board up. So you need low to the ground fire units. You need them, or your deck is going to lose a lot of speed, right? So I have those in there. That said, if you are sideboarding, these are some of the first things that I sideboard out. Then I've got 3, I call them Boom Boom sprites because that's just what they look like, but they're technically Ashbourne sprites. I've got 3 of these. They're 1 cost, 1,000 power units. The way these work is whenever your opponent plays a spell or uses an activated ability, you can just put this into play. So I will try to save these, and then when my opponent uses Metaial to do something, or when they use Liam's ability and pump their creature, or when they play a spell like an Ancient Serpent's Breath or whatever to get rid of one of my things, then they just come into play and they maintain threat presence on the board. So there's some nice low-cost fire units that I put in there. And then, of course, I have 3 Ruka. These are amazing, amazing, amazing cards. Okay, first of all, it's a fire unit, so it helps proc Renna. What this card does is, when this arrives, if I control another fire unit, it gets plus 500 on Brawler. So it usually comes out as a 1,500. Almost always comes out as a 1,500. And then Brawler means the turn it comes into play, it can attack a unit, even if the unit's not exhausted. In addition, though, whenever this card attacks a unit, you get to recover your spirit. So Corona, you can Soul Burster for quickness, right? Which is really powerful ability in Argent Saga. That'll win you some games. And then with Ruka, you recover your spirit. So you'll hit something, you'll play something, you'll play even one of these little guys can sometimes, if you have an air tower or fire tower, you can still break it. So you'll play this in a turn, give it quickness, swing, break a tower, and then play Ruka, right? Flip it back up, and then kill one of their units and remove a threat on the board. So Ruka is a really great card in here. You want to kind of see as much Ruka in the early game as you can, because you're simultaneously removing threats, resetting your spirit, and just handling everything. It's really nice. Then we just have a couple of spells in here. Again, the whole point of Renna is to not have too many spells, because you're gonna hate it. You're gonna use Renna and you're gonna flip a card over from the top of your library, and it's a spell, and then you're not gonna be able to deal 1,000 damage to something. So what I just do is the stuff I need to have. I have 3 Void Flame Expulsions. This is that card that you can expel an opponent's unit and then they can't add to the stack. They can't do anything to respond to it. So I can expel a Reparbloom without triggering any tokens, right? Or I can expel a Metaial, Celestial, whatever the heck that thing is. In response to him, he'll play it, he'll try to destroy one of my shards, and then I can expel it, and then he can't infinite loop me. Or I can get rid of a Yugo, and the Yugo can't respond by destroying something. There's a lot of times these are really, really handy. The downside is it lets your opponent draw a card. So in my sideboard, if I find myself not playing against those high threat decks like Liam with Repo Blooms or Metaial going infinite, then I'll sideboard out, one or maybe even two of these, maybe even three. It depends on what I'm playing against. I'll usually keep at least one, but I can sideboard, one or two of these out. So I got three of those, and then I have a Jurassic Swipe. I only have one because my dinos are often I like to have them attacking. It's actually not very often that I want to just have them sitting on my board waiting to be exhausted with Jurassic Swipe, but it can be a very useful spell. So I would love to always have one, but I would never want two in my hand, because the whole point is you play it, and if you have four more shards and you exhausted a dinosaur or whatever, it just comes back to your hand. I think that's it. Does it require four? Yeah, four more shards. Okay, so even if you play it, if you have multiples, what are you going to do? Just keep recycling two? It's a waste. That said, if I'm playing against Liam or like an aggro, I do sideboard in another one. Probably in exchange, I don't know, I'd probably keep that too. Liam, I tend to just keep all the instant speed interaction that I can, and I'll explain that at the end. Anyway, so one Jurassic Swipe, three Void Flame Expulsions, and then I put one of these in here, an Assault of Ashes, but I'm not a huge fan of it. It does come in handy. I never want two of them. Here's why. Corona does this during my turn for anything. If you think about it, this card lets me like damage a unit or kill or destroy a damaged unit for one, sure. Corona lets me just discard a card, pay nothing, and hurt a unit. So this is something that interferes with what I'm trying to do with Renna, because it's not a unit. It kind of overlaps with what Corona does all day, every day anyway. And I have a lot of other ways to destroy damaged units. I have Bambinos, I have Destroyosaurus, Ruka's already taking out things. I've got the Phoenixes to kill things. I've got so many ways to kill things that I get this in my hand and I'm kind of like, whoop-de-doo. So sometimes I sideboard out these for things that I need. But they're very, very good against Metaial. It kind of makes, and Sylphia too. You're just not afraid of Sylphia, and you're not afraid of Metaial as much if your deck is just swimming with these things. That's it, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. That's Renna Corona. It's a really fun deck. I think everyone likes different stuff. I just thought the dinosaurs were really fun. It's really fun. So let's, if you're interested in the sideboard, I know we're already like 27 some odd minutes, but let's just take some time for those of you who aren't in a hurry this fine Sunday to talk about the sideboard. Here's what I did. Here's what I did with the sideboard. So my sideboard is so ridiculously anti-Liam because I knew that was a hole in my plan. If I had a super aggressive, now Renna is hitting things every turn for 1,000. So even as the deck is, it's actually a lot of pressure on Liam because it has Ruka. Ruka can remove threats without targeting them. Ruka can kill 002 and not trigger 002. And then Corona's killing things, and Destroy is killing things, and Bambino's killing things, and Ruka's killing things. Like I'm clearing my opponent's board all day long. But with Liam is so aggro. I just wanted more. So I put in two Phoenix Flame Strikes. And the way this works, and this actually happened, I was playing Liam in the showcase, and how it worked is he had 002 out, he had 002, and he had a board full of tokens. It looked like this, right? And I'm headed into the next turn going, oh my God. But you know what was underneath Renna that turn? One of these. So at the end of his turn, I used Renna. I put a dinosaur into play, and I put this on top of my deck. And then I drew it, and I played it. And I did 1,000 damage to everything, and I wiped the board. And that, you know what that was? That was pretty darn satisfying. But here's how you can handle 002 too, right? Because with Liam, if you're going to board wipe with this, he's going to pump 002 first. So you can discard a card first, use Corona to hit 002 for 500 damage, right? Which won't do anything because the board's full anyway. Or even if the board's not full, it doesn't matter. You generate a couple of tokens, and then you Flame Strike, you hit everything for 1,000. So now 002 is definitely going to die. And if Liam wants to waste a gear pumping up a token, good for him, you know. So I have Phoenix Flame Strike in there. That was really helpful against Liam. And then I put in 2 Kasai's. Again, it's instant speed, keeping me alive stuff. That's all you have to do against Liam. You just have to survive for a while, right? You just have to survive. Cling to life. And then I put in 1 Firebomb for because some of the Liam decks are playing those Rose Knights that become more powerful when they cluster together. And so they will actually intentionally cluster their units together. And so then what I will do is put a Firebomb in there and laugh myself to sleep as I blow up the whole field with just 1 card. That's pretty fun. And then later on too with Liam, I still have Ashes in there because he's not killing my units. And so it's very likely that I'll have 3 or more fire units to get both of these effects, which is really cool. I definitely keep Jurassic Swipe, and I keep some... The thing is, I don't really want to give Liam extra cards. So I might keep like 1 Expulsion. If he seems really heavy, 002, I know they all should be. I don't know. Maybe I keep 2. And then I have another... There it is. I have another Jurassic Swipe that I put in there too. Just because Liam, I'm just trying to survive. So I just leave my dinos up, and then I'm using them to just kill his units at instant speed, and I get this back in my hand every time. So if you can get this up and you can survive to turn 4, you're just like killing his units for nothing all day long. And it's very difficult for him to get through, especially because then if he manages anything, you can still do damage to something and then kill it by blinking in a Destroyosaurus at instant speed. Or you can kill it with a Kasai, or you can expel it, you know. Anyway, it's fun. This actually was this is pretty darn effective against Liam, especially game 2. I mean, once you side in all of this Liam hate, like good luck Liam. And since it's already, I mean, they can, don't get me wrong, Liam with the right hand, it almost doesn't matter what you do. You're probably gonna die, but it holds its own. It definitely holds its own, and that's what this is supposed to be, right? Like, it's not supposed to be one deck kills everything. It's okay to lose. It's okay to lose sometimes, as long as you win a lot. Also, then let's see. I do have 3 Bone Scavengers in here. It's a unit, but it's not a fire unit, so it's frustrating to like top deck this with Renna's ability. But it's really nice to use this against Metaial. If it's a Metaial that's not a discard heavy, like if they don't have Shriekers and a bunch of way to fill their discard ahead of your Bone Scav, then you can just clean up, you know, the cards that they're trying to keep in their discard. You can just kick them out with Bone Scav, and you can still keep pressure on your opponent. So with the Metaial matchup, they're usually not attacking me, so I'll side out these eggs, right? Because I'm not going to be guarding anyway. And I'll side out Pterotoratops, maybe, or at least one of them. I'll bring in Bone Scavs, and I'll bring in 1 more Raptor. Since I'm getting rid of the eggs, but the Raptor is amazing against Metaial, I'll dump the eggs, bring in a 3rd Raptor, bring in some Bone Scavengers. So that's what I did there. And then, so here's the deal with this. So we have a mono air control player who's he's really aggressive in his interaction. So I didn't end up playing him at the showcase, which is way too bad. I was really hoping to drop a Lavalasaurus just so he could be like, what? So, because control games go forever. You know, control games, it's like turn 10 in a short game. So I was going to put in a Lavalasaur in addition to my 3 untargetable, where are they? Herd Mothers, who are really good against mono air control, because you take care of Sylphia with one of your kill spells or like an expulsion. You just get rid of Sylphia, and as soon as Sylphia's gone, you start dropping these big, stompy, untargetable things. Lavalasaur is a 4,000 power 7 cost with Overrun, but if you control 9 or more shards, he gains quickness and can't be targeted. So in a control matchup against Jillian or Mono Air or whatever, where you're almost always hitting these super late, games, you put these things in here, these big, stompy, crazy, untargetable things, especially with quickness, and rush in for the kill and take the game. If they're going to drag you through an hour and a half of playing, then you should leave some like landmines for them and make life a little hard for them. And then when they play Mayu and they try to recur their chronostasis, expel it, and it'll never come back. And that's pretty unsatisfying. I didn't know what to do against Hoenna. I should have probably put augment hate in there. What I did for Hoenna a little bit is I put in 2 immortal princesses because I knew Hoenna was going to be killing my units a lot. And so I figured, well, if they kill immortal princess, when she dies, I get to put a Rowena from my hand or deck into play. A Rowena unit, so I could at least like get something back after that wrath inevitably wipes my board and fills their board. So I don't know. I think you really need to handle Hidden Lab if you're not going for like an infinite loop combo right away with Metaial, and if you're not killing Hoenna by turn 3 or 4 with Liam, then then it's a tough game, right? But it's interesting, right? Like if this deck can handle Metaial pretty well and handle Liam okay, but Liam and those guys can handle Hoenna, and then Hoenna can handle this. I don't know. Maybe we're evolving into a format where we actually have these different decks with different strengths and weaknesses, and that'd be kind of fun, that'd be all right. So there it is. Here we are 6 hours later. For the 3 of you that are still watching, put in the comments, what do you think? Do you like dinos? If you have any interest in them, I highly recommend this deck. It's really fun, and it did take second place in our local meta. It's a good deck. It just takes practice and getting used to it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it needs a little tweaking. Like maybe in some areas you'd go down 2 of these, and maybe you'd put in more quickness. Like you could put an Underlord of the Void Flame in there for more quickness. You could put in some augment hate, like I don't know, some Acid Mongers, or I'd hate to put 1 Zephyr Crystal in, but oh gosh, I guess you could. Maybe some augment hate to take care of Hidden Lab. I don't know. There's some opportunity for growth in here. And of course, the next 2 Argent Saga booster sets, supposedly set 5 and set 6, are both going to be taking place on the continent of Hoenn. And are we going to see more dinos? Maybe a little bit. So we'll see what comes out of that. Pretty exciting. Argos out.